If you are a teacher, parent, administrator, student, and/or anyone who loves reconnecting children with nature, and you want to figure out how to cultivate learning gardens and nature-based curriculum, then this is the podcast, the Outdoor Classrooms podcast. My name is Victoria Hackett. I am the founder of Outdoor-Classrooms.com and the Secret Gardens Nature Classes. I love witnessing the magic that happens when children are playfully learning outdoors. Observing the return of wonder and curiosity when children are interacting with nature is pure magic. This is the podcast that is going to help you capture children's interest and give you not only inspiration, but some real life strategies that are going to help you figure out how to use the outdoor space, your outdoor space, as a teaching tool, so you can enlighten the playful learning experience for young children. Welcome to our Outdoor Classrooms community. Julie Brams is an earth-centered psychotherapist, certified forest therapy guide, meditation practitioner, teacher, and author of the New York Big Book Award winner, The Nature Embedded Mind: How the Way We Think Can Heal Our Planet and Ourselves. She is also the co-founder of Elemental and Nature-Informed Wellness Center. Her psychotherapy practice integrates traditional therapy, eco-psychology practices, meditation, and the latest advances in the field of neuropsychology. Certified by the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy, she leads nature immersion experiences, classes, and workshops, taking people out of doors to reciprocally heal themselves and the rest of nature. She is dedicated to social change and environmental sustainability through reestablishing our intimate connectedness with our living earth. Without further ado, Julie Brams. Hello, everybody. We have Julie Brams here. Thank you for coming and joining us, Julie. And she is the author, as I mentioned, of The Nature Embedded Mind. And it's just a fabulous read. And Julie, I just want to jump right in and ask you a little bit about yourself. We sort of did that in the bio, but I also want to know a little bit about what inspired you to write this beautiful book, Nature Embedded Mind.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here and to share what I can about this. It's a deep love of mine. It's a deep subject. It's, kind of simple and difficult all at the same time, which is part of the reason why I did write the book. I've been a mental health professional for 34 years now.
Wow.
Who's counting? But, and, I have, through my profession, I feel like my heart is always in understanding both what makes people suffer, what causes suffering for people, but most importantly, what alleviates it, what makes us healthy and happy and feel comfortable in our own skin and, able to feel free to be who we are. Through my 34 years, I have gone through many different specializations based on things that, again, I felt were sort of answering this deeper question. I've done a lot of work with death and dying. My profession in general has weaved or woven in mindfulness as a kind of we call it like a transdiagnostic tool. So I am a practitioner of Vipassana meditation. I'm a teacher as well. And that kind of knowing how to begin to separate out, really be able to distinguish being from thinking, sensing from ruminating. These are skills that, right, this is an ancient medicine. This is not a new thing. It's just that science has kind of pulled it out of the religion and taken the heart of it. And so through that practice and education, it just sort of inevitably I should say, like, originally also, I'm an earth lover. People would say to me, "Oh, you're a therapist, you must really love people." And I'd go, "Well, you know, I do. I love people individually as a species. I'm not too happy with us, but I have this love of nature and love of the earth, and I thought to myself, I really wanna help people stop hurting themselves, and
Mm,
so this sort of dovetailed about, I don't know, maybe 10 or so years ago. Actually, it might be longer than that. Whoa. It might be, like, more like 20 years ago. Whoa. Okay. 20 years ago, it dovetailed, and I started to get this almost this, like, chills, or I would cry when I thought about what can I do to help this planet with my skill set.
mm,
So, as I was making my way through all of the wonderful pioneers and mavericks in the field of eco-psychology, I realized I'm not a maverick, and every time I would speak with these people, I would say, "Well, how do I do this? How do I bring this into my practice? What is it?" And they would say, "You can do whatever you want." And for me personally, that felt scary to me.
mm,
And so I kept on this search for there must be a how to do this that's, again, being a scientist or a science-minded person, a standardized, repeatable, science behind it kind of method that I could use to help people. And then serendipitously, I came across Amos Clifford's work. So
mhm,
he brought me together with the how, and I became a certified forest therapy guide and really learned the difference between being in the role of therapist and being in the role of the guide, where nature is the therapist.
mm,
And then is when I said, I have to write this book because
yeah,
my colleagues don't know this. And it's so accessible. It's so accessible. I mean, shockingly accessible and fun and easy to do. I felt like I wanted my colleagues to, one, clock the fact that this separation is only psychological and it is a psychological issue slash problem,
mhm,
and that there is this way that has been very reliably created that we can all bring into our practice and help everyone
mm,
reconnect their mind. And so that's the piece I think that is a little slippery, because knowing that you're part of nature is not the same as experiencing yourself as part of nature.
right, I can see
Okay.
that, yes, and
Yeah.
I got that when I was reading it was interesting, it was exactly that, and
Yeah.
so when you say nature embedded mind,
Yeah.
what does that really mean in sort of everyday terms? So you're kind of sharing you've written this book and you're sharing it with your colleagues and the folks that are listening to this podcast are probably educators and most
Yes.
likely how would you describe that exactly what you just did beautifully, but maybe in, layman's terms?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that question. And I do wanna also expand that this isn't just for psychologists.
Yeah.
Sometimes people leap to that assumption. I do have a special shout out to my colleagues because I think that's an important as part of our ethics. But this is for anyone who wants to be sovereign in their own mind, so anyone, and then anyone who thinks of themselves maybe as having influence over someone else, that you wanna help
Mm,
them back into right relationships. So, educators, healers, moms, dads, friends, anybody that wants to demonstrate that this way is
yeah.
possible. Okay, so layman's terms, this is where there's a big another gap, which I think is it's part of the trap mentally, because our language, our culture's language, Western mind, doesn't have language for what I'm trying to say. Like
Mm,
if we talk to an Aboriginal person, we talk to a First Nations person, anyone indigenous, their language speaks to this relationality. So when I'm speaking our language to our mind, it's again, it's like this little
Oh, wow, I just got chills. Yeah.
but I am constantly trying to figure out how do I get it? Because once you get it, once you see it, you can't unsee it, and that's
Mhm,
the of it. So I was thinking this morning, remember this movie, Doctor Dolittle, okay?
mhm.
Now that was one of my favorites as a kid. But his premise is, right, if we could talk to the animals, right? If we could, that implies that we can't.
Mm.
And
And that's what you talk about in the book in
yeah,
terms of our language, our
our
own
language keeps us separated.
separated,
And that's part of what
part of the mindset.
yes, and so we have to unlearn this language, and I think have to sort of develop new language.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanna just
Okay.
connect that to educators.
Yeah.
And when we have educators that are working with children outdoors, to really think about what you were talking about in terms of just how we are referring to nature.
Yes.
And are we in that connected mindset? Like, or is our language in a disconnected just subconsciously? Like,
It is. It's
yeah,
yes, it's an implicit bias. But also I wanted to say this idea, the implication that we can't talk implies that we don't, and that's another false. We are communicating 24/7. We don't
amazing. Yeah.
know. We have forgotten the language. We've forgotten, but I put this in the book because it's just so it's first, there's so much science behind it, but it's also, like you think, "Oh, of course." Our relationship with trees, we've co-evolved with them, right? So, our bodies biologically are interrelating with trees so much to the point where if you're next to a tree, it starts to read your immune system. It starts to
Right.
read
Right.
you
Yeah.
and see what's missing and start sending that out to you. When you look at a tree, when they've analyzed a tree okay, so they do this through phytoncides, and when they've analyzed where the phytoncides are being emitted, it's right here at the nose level of a human being.
Hmm.
So it's like biologically, we can see that, right? Like, we're not separate from we're embedded in this
Yeah.
web.
Nature embedded mind.
Right,
Yeah.
so it's just our
Beautiful.
mind that's separated, which is why I used that title because we are sort of understanding that our mind and our body are one thing. I think we keep slipping in and out of that because we've had these great philosophers telling us that, "Nope, the mind is separate,"
Mhm.
and we're reclaiming that. The mind is not separate, the mind is the body
Mm.
is the earth, the mind is the earth. So, yeah.
So you really just answered my next question, which was you talk about the healing ourselves and the planet and how those 2 are connected. So what happens to our thinking when we are disconnected? So when we are living in that world of disconnection of nature, what happens to our thinking and well-being and
Right. So, what happens to us is our nervous system is dysregulated all the time
yeah,
because we're living in non reality. We're thinking and behaving in ways that are delusional. I mean, it's a strong word, but I think it's true. And so, our set point, what we've come to believe is normal, this is how I feel, is, it's a set point that's dysregulated. So in
right.
that dysregulation, we feel more anxiety, we feel more depression, we feel a longing, we feel a loneliness, we feel an emptiness, we feel all kinds of things that then we seek to whatever, medicines, self-medication, addictions, all the things we're trying to kind of clamp down what if we are back in relationship and actually relationship, not just spending time outside. That's good and it does help, but being back in our full mind self that can communicate. I'm not gonna say talk to the animals because that's anthropocentric again. That's,
Mhm.
you know, but we communicate. We communicate through temperature, we communicate through vibration, we communicate through light and dark, through movement. I mean,
Mm,
we're communicating, and when we can remember that when you practice this, you'll see how they respond. You know,
right.
you have to suspend your disbelief. Again, that's part of that mental trap. But if you suspend your disbelief and you spend enough time, you begin to see that they are responding and they are also initiating conversation. And then you understand how to respond back in a way that's like, we're not going to become the other species. We're human, but a
Right.
human has a capacity to infuse the conversation with something. And I think oftentimes what it is love.
Fascinating. So again, you've answered the next one.
Okay.
Can reconnecting nature actually change how we make decisions or relate to others? And you just described that. I mean,
Yeah. And, and
and then to end with love as the cherry on top is really the essence. And what I want to do now is bring that to education and children.
yeah.
So, how does this nature embedded way of thinking
Mhm.
begin in children? How can we, we are encouraging more outdoor classrooms, and we're training teachers to teach outdoors and to make these connections. But this is a whole deeper conversation, which I so appreciate. Is there any way that we can begin with children?
Yeah. I think this is such an important topic because children, all of us as children, we are connected.
Mm,
We're born this way. This is our birthright. We have to be trained away from it. We have to be shamed out of it or, directed away from what a child naturally knows how to do. So the youngest children, I said in my book, if you have the
mhm,
advantage of having a young, like a toddler kind of person in your life, let them be your forest guide because they would
mm,
naturally take invitations from the land and you can follow them, do what they do. So I think as an adult, the responsibility is kind of cleaning your own mind
mm,
so that you don't accidentally contaminate their mind,
mhm,
you know? And
yeah,
I think of it in ways like I just said this the other day, how we just say something like the kids are playing in the soil and you say, "Oh, don't put that in your mouth." You know?
yeah,
Okay, I understand. I'm a parent. I get it. But also, is there a better way to say it
right,
that isn't like, "Don't do that. Don't touch it. Don't taste it. Don't know it. Don't have a relationship with it." Is there another way that we might language it? And I think this is all discoverable. So I hope that this is not a question that I'm answering because 'cause I'm not the authority. We are all authorities about this, so I hope this lets your listeners' minds start to go, "How would I do that?"
mhm,
How would I encourage relationality? That the soil is a living being that we can put in our mouth, but like, just sort of thinking it in terms of this is your grandmother,
mm.
you can kiss her. Maybe you don't want to swallow her or whatever, know?
Yeah, it's
That we're thinking these are and this is truly mind-blowing, like, these are ancient relatives that we live with all the time. It's the water that we drink, the water coming out of our faucet is the one and only water that's been here since before we were here. I mean,
yeah,
ancient ally. S
yeah,
How do we honor that, remember it? And then I think, again, it's a very personal journey. What does that do inside you? Oftentimes, in the beginning, it causes people to cry.
Mm,
to weep. There is grief around having forgotten that.
mhm.
And then knowing there is nothing lost, like, everything is still here. We do it now, you know?
So with that, I love how you described, if you have a young child in your world, to let them be your nature guide. So,
Mhm.
what is it that children naturally understand about that connection to the natural world that we as adults often lose? Is it that we want to be kind of conscious that we're not contaminating? What is it that we lose as we get older?
Yeah, what our culture teaches us is that nature is an object.
Yeah.
They're soulless, they're unintelligent.
Hmm.
Um, of course, that's tipping, thankfully, that's changing, but
Mhm.
we've been living in this paradigm of human supremacy. Like, this is what defines civilization, is that humans are separate from and superior to and have dominion over and can do whatever we want, that nature is here to serve the human race
Hmm.
or the human species. And then, of course, there's more distortion among human beings. Now it's not just all human beings, but certain human beings are at the top, and then certain genders are at that top, and whatever. This
Mhm.
hierarchical structure is the problem. That's
Yeah.
a fantasy. We are Gloria Steinem, I'm going to say, linked, not ranked. So
Yeah.
imagine that we are linked, not ranked. And you start to see where we've gone wrong and what needs to
That's
be
interesting. Yeah.
dismantled. But what the kids know, or what kids do, is they don't think of nature as an object,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
times, like, maybe it seems that they're anthropomorphizing it, and I think that people try to dissuade that, and that's true. But again, as educators, or anyone with a child around, if you could honor, this is a living, sentient being. It's not like a human. What is it like? What do you notice about
Mm. Mhm.
the grass? What do you see? But because they haven't had as much time in this thinking of, I can't say that I heard the grass say something because then I'll be made fun of.
Mm. Mhm. Right. Absolutely.
This is how we train ourselves now. We use ridicule and humiliation and shame and
To get to that.
mhm.
So I'd love to, at this point, to get to that outdoor classrooms connection.
Okay.
So how can outdoor classrooms support the development of a nature embedded mind?
Okay, so I would say, yeah, I
The
mean,
load.
no, no, this might be preaching to the choir. You might already do many of these things. But what I've learned about letting nature be the teacher or the therapist is that you set up invitations for the human being to explore their relationship with the other than human. So, for example, one of the first invitations that we do to help people come back, first of all, into their body, is this kind of sensory. Like, we might say, what does this place sound like? What do you hear? What's the farthest sound you can hear? What's the closest sound you can hear? Is there a melody? Is there a rhythm? Just to begin to attune to just hearing the place, the soundscape. That's a word that John Kabat-Zinn uses in his book, Coming to Our
Mm. Mhm.
Tuning into the soundscape, and then adding your own sound, noticing, what sound are you making in this
Mm.
soundscape? Because we wanna re-embed ourselves. You're here too. Like, we're good at observing, like, as if it's a TV show or a zoo. Don't touch that, don't. But this is like remembering, so what sound Maybe it's the sound of your own breath, sound of swallowing, or maybe you want to make a sound. You can vocalize, you can sing, you can, add a rhythm. So adding your sound into the soundscape. So you hear the bird, you hear yourself, you hear the wind, it's all
I love
embedded
that.
together.
Yeah.
Then asking, how do you like that? If you notice that you like that, just it's a little bit different with kids. With adults, we say, is there anything pleasurable about that?
Mm.
That doesn't really work with kids too much, it's not quite. But something the teachers will know what's a
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
than me, what is
Yeah.
the swap out, but
Yeah.
it's really understanding that this is fun, I like this, this feels good to hear, and then we go through touch, smell, taste, even taste, where it could
Yeah.
be like sip the air through as if it was through a straw. Do you pick up
Yeah.
any flavor, or is there flavor in your mouth from something you've drank or eaten? Just always
Yeah.
letting yourself in. It's dissolving that false barrier, like taste your skin.
Yeah.
We use the word curiosity. If you're curious enough, you might want to taste the rock
Mm.
or the bark. Obviously, the guide is also there to keep everyone who's unfamiliar with it protected from what we don't call them dangers, we call them awarenesses.
Mm.
So,
Mhm.
yes, you're not gonna taste the poison oak. Not a good idea.
Not so much.
Don't be that curious.
Yeah, I mean, that's so it's really it again, we're speaking to the choirs when you
Yeah.
take those 4 walls away, and I think we all know what happens, and there is this sense of sort of magic. But what
Mhm.
I love about your book, and I love about this conversation, and that your book is about opening up a conversation, and that's clearly and I hope that those that are listening are really thinking about how to make those connections, like, just even with ourselves but what about educators who feel those constraints by the standards and schedules? Is there, again, and you're talking about a much deeper connection. Are there simple ways that they can begin? Sort of.
I think so, because, like, the truth of the matter is we're always in nature.
Mm,
We're
mhm.
always in nature because our body is nature. We're always in nature. You can I do and again, I'm not a teacher, I don't know what those constrictions are, so I'm speaking blindly about
Yeah.
but if there were a moment, to just notice the relationship, all of the elements are in your body.
Mhm.
Water, air, sunlight, the minerals of the earth.
Yeah, yeah,
So we're always nature, we are nature, and then we're always in relationship with nature because we're breathing air,
mhm.
so we can always just attune to the nature that we're already in. It's really like breaking the idea of separation.
Yeah,
And and that
that's it.
yeah, and that's where I would be really curious, like, I'd love to hear back from your
Yeah,
listeners. What do they notice in their own mind? Like, what can you see in your own mind that keeps you feeling separate?
yeah,
Because, again, going out of the doors of your room, great, but it's the doors in your mind. That's
yeah,
what I'm talking about, and I'm very curious with everyone, what's in there? I mean, I have my one mind I can
right.
play with and see, and I can share that, but I feel like the more that we share with each other, this is how I keep myself separate. This is the sentence or this is the premise. We can dismantle each other's inner
Mm.
cage or doors, whatever.
And I guess what would be I'm just thinking for my own self.
Mhm.
In terms of, okay, Victoria, how would I dismantle my own mindset, I guess, in
Mhm.
terms of Would it be through journaling? Would it be sitting outside and journaling? Would it just be getting in touch with what I'm actually thinking and making that, 'cause it's really what separates us, and that process of discovering that. So what's how it's really thinking about what that process would be, and I think it would be probably different for everybody, right? Because maybe everybody's mind is a
I
little
think
bit different, but
yes,
any tips that you can give even me?
yeah, yeah. I mean, okay, so there's a chapter in the book, I forget exactly what I titled it, Crazy, Silly, Stupid, I don't know.
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
okay, so it's like when you are actually outside of this false paradigm, you're going to doubt yourself. Like, that's a good sign. That's a sign that you're on the right track. If you're feeling silly, if you're feeling like, "Is that possible? Like,
mhm,
could I have actually seen that?" Or am I making it up? That's where you're coming out of the delusion. And that happens, again, I wanna reemphasize that what we're aiming for, again, is a relationship, kinship
mhm.
with other than humans. And again, underscore, the other than humans are going to teach us how. It's not us.
Oh, yeah, it's let it right, it's yeah, absolutely.
Right, so right, like, one of the ways that we stay trapped is we keep going to
We wanna control it. We wanna,
yeah,
"Here's the
well,
lesson," and but it really letting go
yeah,
and being, just being in nature, and then
and
it almost hearing the whispers. I think I
no,
just got it.
yeah, yeah. Say more though. Would you say more about what you got?
I think, well, it's being in nature, and so oftentimes when I'm in nature, I sort of hear whispers, like, if I'm struggling with a problem or something, or I go on a long walk, I'll hear kind of whispers, which sounds kind of kooky, but
Very
I
true.
think it's when I let go of whatever it is, and I just lean into nature, the answers come. And I
Mhm,
think that's what you're talking I think that's the bridge
mhm.
that you're talking about, is going into that space where you're just being rather than doing. And I think as educators, we tend to do and wanna control. We want our class kids to be on desks, and even taking them outside makes them feel like, "Oh, I don't have the 4 walls to contain them." So, it's a wonderful, wonderful, and again, your book is a wonderful introduction to a conversation
Yeah,
about just that, and I love how you come from the angle of mental health, and I come from the angle of education, and it's fascinating to, and now we have so many children that need mental health, you know? I mean, we're in such a interesting space where I think education really needs to change, and we need to sort of have this type of marriage with nature where we can serve so many more people.
yeah, and I think also really leaning into not just being, but listening to
Mm,
the other than humans as the wisdom keepers that they are. So
mhm,
let's say you hear the whispers and you get an answer, and then as a human being, if it were me, I might think, "Oh, I figured it out. Oh,
mhm.
I figured it out."
Right, right.
Instead of, "Thank you, tree, for helping me, and what can I do for you in exchange? What can I give you back? You've given me the answer that I was looking for. What can I give you in return?" And they will ask for something. Sometimes they say nothing, they don't need anything. Lots of times they say, "I'm fine,
Mhm,
you don't give me anything." It's the asking. Sometimes they want water, sometimes they want weird things. You can give them pieces of your hair, there's a lot of nutrients in your hair. You can hold them, again, giving love. I think there is a vibrational exchange. But to not always be so centered on ourselves and realize that if we do get an answer in nature, it wasn't us necessarily. Like,
mm,
can we be humble enough to imagine that we were listened to, for one. Wouldn't that be amazing to know that the land around us, cares about us, loves us, wants to help us, not just in the ways of giving us oxygen or food, but other ways. And then appreciating, showing our appreciation for what they
Mm.
give us.
And I think that just there's so much research on gratitude
Mm,
that to merge that with nature and to give back and actually say thank you is so beautiful, is such a wonderful message to incorporate into our practices as educators and to really because I don't think we are saving our earth. I think we are, we are in a very we're leaving our earth to our children in a very dire. I don't want to get depressing here, but we need to just simply I love how you just so beautifully wove that in that gratitude piece. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
and here's the thing too, which I kind of chuckle. I don't know what this feeling is that I have, but it's like, what broke us was this science. The rest of nature is not, there's no animism anymore. Now we're going into hard science, and hard science is leading us back to the truth.
Mm,
Of course it does. Yes, there's research on gratitude and how important gratitude is. Oh, by the way, ask our indigenous contemporaries,
yeah,
how
yeah,
do you in right relationship?
yeah,
Gratitude.
yeah,
Oh, even science is going to show us the way home.
yeah.
And it's for us to not shame ourselves out of what we know to be true in our heart, in our bones, in our blood, that we are grateful, and how good it feels to express gratitude for a tree that's giving you oxygen.
Mm. And do you see this type of thinking kind of moving into our schools, into our classrooms, into I know you're coming from the mental health profession, but can you imagine? Do you see that, or do you see where do you see this maybe landing, maybe in the world of?
What I see, and okay, I'm not completely up to date, but what I've seen is that when this is entering into schools, it's sort of on the down low, where a teacher will do this without necessarily broadcasting it.
Mhm,
Because as you said, and again, it's like the top down is shaming this, or this isn't important or whatever, same with therapists. Like, it's very similar, where we need to be the answer holder, and we need to be in a room, and we need to, you know. So I think that it's been very, yeah, sort of Underground Railroad-ish,
mm.
rescuing us.
I love that description, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the
oh, right.
that we have to do that, but I like that description because that really gives a very
Yeah.
clear. I'm curious with your in terms of your own relationship with nature, did it change while you were writing this book?
Well, yes, because, now I've been practicing this lifestyle for 9 years, and it's exponentially different.
Really?
Oh my gosh, yes, because I'm learning more and more and more and more from all the different species, you know?
Mm,
There are some pretty common changes that happen immediately. I mean, I don't mean immediately like one time, although I maybe, but it's like going, like I always say this, it's like going to the gym. Like for me, like I can know exactly how a treadmill works, and I know exactly how a treadmill will be good for me, but until I get on the treadmill, nothing changes in my body, right?
right,
Same with
right.
this, like, it takes frequency and commitment and repetition, just like any relationship. Again, if we can demystify it, it's like if you want a relationship with a person, you have to hang out with them.
Right.
You have to talk to them. You have to listen to them, mainly. If you have a relationship where you're just talking to the person, do you know them?
Mm,
No. Do you have a good bond? No. probably are gonna burn them out and they're not gonna wanna talk to you anymore.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
has to be this listening, who are you? What are your dreams? What are your hopes? What are your needs? And if we ask that to the other than humans, they have answers for us.
Mm,
So, yes, over time, it becomes more and more rich, more and more relaxed. So, all the modern problems, anxiety, depression, whatever you're struggling with, go away. Not
mm,
completely, but your baseline is back to normal, and then
right.
you can take care of whatever else much easier,
Yeah.
you
Can
know?
you share a moment when you experienced this embedded mind in a powerful way?
There's a lot of them, so let me
I
see to think through. I guess I'll just say, like, this was one where, again, it was a discovery for me. I was working with water. I teach a course based on the book, and
Mhm.
in the study cohort, everyone, including me, has a other than human partner. So,
Mm,
going through the questions in the course with an other than human ally helping inform our questions, answering our questions.
hmm.
And so I was working with water, and I was finding myself taking myself I live near the ocean, I'm in Los Angeles, so go to the ocean, we have some lake bodies, things like that, and then I was like, "Wow, I really have a whole different attitude to the water that comes out of my faucet." And I
Oh,
was like,
interesting.
"Why am I doing that? Like, why do I not revere the water coming out of the pipe?" And again, I felt that sorrow, and then I thought about, wow, the water that's coming out of my shower is that ancient relative. What might that water want? And so I put flowers around the drain so that when the water came down, it's making contact with me, but it also had a chance to feel the flowers
Mm,
and then it's, of course, going back down underground into the pipe, and just remembering to express the kind of gratitude I felt for the water who is now going to go back into a pipe, a reclamation plant. Like, that's a great sacrifice.
mm.
Um,
Wow, that's
mm,
fascinating. Yeah.
yeah, and
What a
to show love for it while I can.
right.
Yeah,
Which is what you said, sprinkling that piece on it, the love and the gratitude and in that process, which is so interesting. And it completely just listening to the story changes the mindset of taking a shower. Something so simple that you do every day
right.
and kind of taking you into another space, which is
Yeah,
so interesting. And then to sort of just for our listeners to really think about, simple ways that we can bring this concept and thought process and mindset to our children in our outdoor classrooms, which is such a interesting thing to think about. I could talk to you all day long. This has been absolutely incredible. But one of the things I love to ask is there anything before I ask the question, is there anything that you would like to share that I haven't touched upon before my final question?
mm. I guess one of the things I wanna say is maybe like a touchstone for people is to just think kinship, think
Mm,
relationship with any of it, you know? What is my familial relationship with the air, with the water, with the trees? I keep saying that because the trees are out my window. So just keep thinking relationship, and that will do a lot to dismantle that separation and knowing that you can touch them.
mm,
You can, it's fine. There's no don't touch, don't disturb it, no, disturb it in a good way.
right, right, right.
Yeah, and I think also just letting people know that these conversations are a jumping off point, and the practice is really where it comes to life, and I do have ways of helping people engage in those practices. So reach out to me. I'm at a point where I can just talk to people. If you want to text me, email me, whatever, I will answer any questions and invite everyone into Experience Elemental, where these practices live. That's the house that they live under. Because it is an embodied, embedded practice. It's not a mental exercise. We can think about it all day long.
Right.
Won't
Yeah.
change anything. Yeah.
I love. Wonderful. Yes, we will have all that information in the show notes. Is there one final seed of inspiration that you would like to leave our listeners with?
Yeah. This is an invitation. If you're curious to explore, walk out of doors and see what other than human being wants to play with you today.
I love that. I love that. And I love the fact that you used the word play, which is a word that we talk about a lot in this community. So I cannot thank you enough for joining us. And again, I will leave all your information in the show notes. And I hope that we have some of our community reach out to you. And your book is absolutely a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful read. So The Nature Embedded Mind, I recommend highly for all those that want to read a good read. And just to take your mindset to another, it really gets you thinking about differently about what we're all doing. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before you go, I want to share an invitation. If you are an educator who knows outdoor learning matters, but you want more structure, confidence, and support, the Outdoor Teaching Bootcamp might be exactly what you need right now. This is a 5-week online foundations course and is the first step in our Outdoor Classrooms teacher certification program. Each week, we focus on one of the 5 phases of teaching outdoors, helping you build a strong, sustainable rhythm for your outdoor classroom. You'll get pre-recorded lessons inside a private portal that you can move through at your own pace, along with 5 weekly live Zoom sessions where we come together to reflect, ask questions, and connect with other educators from all over the country doing this work. If you're curious whether the bootcamp is the right fit for you, I'd love to talk to you. You can schedule a one-on-one discovery call with me, Victoria, and we'll think through it together. Head on over to our website to learn more, or we'll have the link in the show notes as well, and see when the next Outdoor Teaching Bootcamp cohort is opening. Thanks for listening and for the work that you're doing to bring learning back into the relationship with nature. So P.S., if you are a Circle member and you are interested in taking the Outdoor Teaching Bootcamp, you get $100 off the price. So there are huge discounts for joining our Circle membership community. So again, if you have any questions about this, schedule that one-on-one call with me and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Talk to you soon. Bye.